Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Outer Rim Cantina. My name's Alan, and today I want to talk a bit about Marcia Lucas's recent quotes from J.W. Rinzler's last book and biography of Star Wars producer Howard Kazanjian. The book itself is a biography of his life and his work on Star Wars. However, what's getting the most attention is the foreword from Marcia Lucas, where she talks very openly and plainly about her opinions of Star Wars since the original trilogy. What's making the biggest headlines are her opinions of Kathleen Kennedy, the current head of Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, who directed episodes 7 and 9, and the sequel trilogy as a whole. In the book, she is quoted as saying that she is friends with Kennedy and respects her as a person and as head of Lucasfilm, but according to Marcia, she doesn't understand Star Wars and neither does J.J. Abrams. What she didn't like most about episode 7 was apparently the death of Han Solo. Quote, "When I saw that movie where they kill Han Solo, I was furious. I was furious when they killed Han Solo. Absolutely, positively, there was no rhyme or reason to it. I thought, you don't get the Jedi story. You don't get the magic of Star Wars. You're getting rid of Han Solo?" End quote. Now, my response to that would be that it seems like Marcia doesn't get Star Wars. I know I shouldn't feel the need to explain this so plainly to someone like her. After all, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but as much as I have my gripes about the sequels, specifically JJ's films, there was a narrative and story reason to kill off Han Solo. Han Solo had to die so that Ben Solo could live. If Han lived, there would be no redemption of Ben, at least not in this trilogy. Killing Han was Snoke's final test to see if Ben could really become Kylo Ren and a Prince of Darkness. Han proved that there was still light in Ben, and proved that he hadn't fallen so hard that he could not be redeemed. Not only that, but outside of the narrative reason for his death, the only reason Harrison Ford signed on for another Star Wars film was under the condition that they killed off Han. For someone who worked so closely with George and everyone else on the original trilogy, she conveniently left out the discourse Harrison started when the other two original films were being made that his character should be killed off before the end, which of course never happened. Marcia presents a very one-sided argument on why she doesn't like Episode 7 or JJ. While I do agree that JJ could and should have had a little more creativity to his films, the decision to kill Han Solo was, in my opinion, one of the most narratively impactful moments of the entire trilogy. I'll never forget my reaction of pure shock, awe, and sadness at the entire scene. It was beautifully written, acted, and shot. That scene alone is what keeps bringing me back to The Force Awakens. Then Marcia goes on to talk about Rey and having a female lead in a Star Wars trilogy, saying, quote, "And they think it's important to appeal to a woman's audience, so now their main character is this female, who's supposed to have Jedi powers, but we don't know how she got Jedi powers or who she is. It sucks, the storylines are terrible, just terrible, awful," end quote. Once again, for someone who worked so closely with George and everyone else in creating the original trilogy, Marcia Lucas really knows nothing about Star Wars. It seems like she can't accept that it's grown beyond the original trilogy and has become so much more to so many people. She can't get past the original cast of characters and really just seems to dislike everything that doesn't involve Luke, Han, and Leia. And that's fine. Like I said, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and she's just voicing hers. But acting like every film after 1986 is the worst thing to ever happen to Star Wars is just a bit overdramatic, and it's really just plain false. I'm a prequel baby. I grew up at a time when the prequels were bright, shiny, and new, and I watched Star Wars The Clone Wars every single Saturday morning. It shaped who I am as a person, and who I am as a fan of this franchise. And hell, it's a big reason why I started this YouTube channel in the first place. Seeing Marcia Lucas, who by all accounts was instrumental in making the original trilogy the massive success and masterpiece it is, completely dismiss everything that came after that as nothing but garbage not fit for consumption just hurts. In addition to ripping into J.J. Abrams and Episode 7, she also shares her opinion of The Last Jedi. Now, we'll come back around to this in a moment, as the way she criticizes it is different than the way she talks about Abrams' films. First, though, I want to talk about her view on the prequel trilogy, because her thoughts are not all about sequel hate. Oh no, she still has plenty of hate for the prequels too. According to Marcia, she literally broke down crying after she went to see episode 1 because she, quote, didn't think it was very good, and I thought he had such a rich vein to mine, a rich palette to tell stories with. He had those characters, and I thought it was weird that the story was about this little boy who looked like he was 6 years old, but then later on he's supposed to get with this princess who looks like she's 20 years old. There were things I didn't like about the casting, and things I didn't like about the story, and things I didn't like. It was a lot of eye candy, CG, end quote. Now, I've got to be honest, despite all the hate and vitriol for most of the other Star Wars films she displayed in the foreword of this book, it doesn't include anything about episodes 2 and 3, which I'm very curious to know her opinion of. Of course, it will probably be more of the same. If it isn't the original trilogy, then it's bad mentality that she seems to reside in 24/7. Now, bringing it back around to her critique of The Last Jedi, it's very different from her other critiques in that she doesn't name Rian Johnson directly as she did with Abrams and Kennedy and Lucas, and she doesn't rip into the film calling the story terrible and awful. The only real critique of the film she presents is making Luke Skywalker become one with the Force at the end of the movie. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, then you know I'm an avid defender of Last Jedi Luke and his arc. I even made a whole video on why it's important, which you can check out right up here. That being said, it shocked me when reading these passages that Marcia went so hard on JJ and Kathy in her criticism of these movies, yet she went relatively light on her critique of The Last Jedi. Read into that what you will. It could be nothing, and it could be something they just edited out for space's sake, since this is just a foreword of a much larger book, and not even about Marcia at all. Still, I think it's something interesting to acknowledge that her demeanor and critique of that particular film appears to be a step back from the rest of these quotes. In the end, Marcia Lucas is a woman who, without a doubt, was instrumental in creating the original trilogy. I mean, she even won an Oscar for her work. However, it seems like she didn't pay more than surface-level attention to the story actually being told in those films, and certainly doesn't care about all of the lore and other outside stories from the expanded universe that were created out of those original films. While I stand by my statement of there being no wrong way to view or interpret Star Wars, Marcia presents some pretty god-awful takes here that I definitely do not shy away from criticizing. She's just an original trilogy purist with nothing more than a surface-level understanding of Star Wars, and only has love for the films that she was a part of. That being said, every single person who works on a Star Wars project all share different opinions of it, and that's part of what makes this franchise so special. And finally, to address the elephant in the room, I'm saddened and ashamed that the only discourse and discussion happening in the fandom currently is about these quotes. Not only the quotes, but the resurfacing of sequel hate that they've spurred instead of focusing on what's really important here. This biography of Howard Kazanjian offers an insight into a brilliant producer and someone more instrumental in the creation of Star Wars than Marcia Lucas. It's also J.W. Rinzler's last book before he passed, and instead of celebrating his life and the life of Howard, the fanbase has turned it into an excuse to shit all over the sequels and stir up more drama. It really is ironic, though, that the people so opposed to the sequels and anything Disney produced are the same people that just 10 years ago were crucifying George Lucas for. Now they're doing the same thing to Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and Rian Johnson, and treat George Lucas like some kind of god among men that can do no wrong. The truth is that even if George returned to write one movie or episode of a show or anything, it would be completely despised by the very people worshipping him today. No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, except for maybe Marcia Lucas. As always though, I would love to know what you think of all of this down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like, as those really do help a small channel like this, and consider subscribing if you want to see more Outer Rim Cantina content in your subscription feeds every week. That's all the time I've got for today. I hope to see you back here in the Cantina next time for another Star Wars video. So then, may the Force be with you.